Hey, would you really like to know how to start, scale and grow a property portfolio using none of your own money and be able to access money really fast? Well, that's exactly what I'm going to share with you in this session. Hey, my name's Liam Ryan. I'm one of the co-founders of Assets for Life. If you're new to this channel, make sure you smash the subscribe button, hit the notification bell, and leave me any questions or comments below. So look, here's the thing. One of the biggest blocks that I find people have when they want to start a property business is they have this conception, it's a misconception, that you personally need big lumps of cash in order to get into property. Now look, you do need cash to get into property, but it can be none of your own cash to get into property. Now, when I started this process, becoming a professional property investor 7 years ago, doing it the right way, bearing in mind I've been in property for over 20 years, but the first time round was a complete and utter disaster. When I started this process again, I just lost my business. I was living on interest-only credit cards. I had no money left in the bank. I was full of self-pity. I was suffering from depression. I was really at a crossroads. However, I got around the right people. I invested into property training and mentoring. I met one of my great business partners, Mr. Jay Munoz, and the only way in which I was going to build a property portfolio was using OPM. Now, there's many different property strategies, many different strategies. Some of them need very little money, and some of them potentially will need a lot of money. So let's take a look. Deal packaging is a great strategy where you pretty much don't need any money to get started. Because what do? You find the deals, you find the investor, you sell the deal to the investor, and you take a fee of £3,000 or £5,000 or £10,000. You can then build up this great cash reserve in your business, and then you can use that money to then use as deposits to go and buy single lets or HMOs or bigger deals. You've also got rent-to-rent, serviced accommodation and HMOs. You don't even own the property. You've not got to buy the property. You are literally renting a property through your company with the correct legal paperwork. You give the landlord the rent that they need. The landlord then enables you to rent it out as serviced accommodation using Airbnb, Booking.com, or as a HMO, a house in multiple occupancy, a multi-let, and then you make the difference. And if you get the right property in the right location, you can be averaging £15,000 profit per property per year. And typically, to get a rent-to-rent deal over the line, you can get a deal anywhere from a couple of £100 to £3,000, £4,000 or £5,000. So minimum cash in, maximum profit out. You can also do single lets. Single lets will require slightly more money depending on where you are in the UK, because you need to go and find the 25% deposit. So let's just say the property is £100,000. You put in 25% the deposit, and then you leverage cheap money from the bank. And obviously the higher the price for the property, the more deposits needed. But you simply follow buy, refurbish, refinance. You buy something dirty, horrible, smelly, disgusting, worst house, best street, add some value to it, refinance out with the view to get that initial deposit and refurb money back out the deal. And then you can do things like commercial conversions and land development deals. And this is where typically you might need bigger lumps, 100, 2, 3, 400,000, 500,000 to get the deal over the line. Now, you might be thinking, well, they all sound great, Liam, but I still need to get some money, and at the moment I don't have a lot of money, or in some cases you might be watching this and you've got no money, and you might be really wanting to get into property. You know that you want to build a legacy, you know that you are looking for more, you deserve more, you perhaps are sick and tired of the rat race. You are working far too hard for not enough money, you're not spending the time with your loved ones, the family members, and you're at some form of a crossroads and you're looking for that next thing. Well, the next thing definitely is by becoming a professional property investor. So let me now talk you through all of the ways in which you can access funds to build a property portfolio in any strategy using none of your own money. And I know this works because this is exactly what I have done over the last 7 years. I've now been involved with over 28 million pounds worth of property deals. I've personally raised over 9 million pounds in joint venture funding. I have helped loads of people go and do the same, and my personal graduates and mentees, they have raised many millions. And look, if you're in a position right now where you don't have a lot of money, then I'm hoping that's going to create enough pain that you're going to actually do something about it. Because in order to get something different, you must do something different, and you've got to find what's going to drive you. So let's take a look at all of the ways in which you can finance property deals. Number one, you can get a mortgage. Yes, you can go and get a mortgage. You can leverage cheap money from the bank, and they will typically give you 75% of the purchase price. You can go and get bridging funding. Yes, bridging funding is great for rundown properties that are not mortgageable. Bridging funding is fantastic for refurbs or to plug a hole that is needed in a development deal. Bridging funding will typically cost more money. It is shorter term lending, typically anywhere between 3 to 18 months. And you can expect to pay about 1% a month on the interest plus some in and out fees. So if you have the money for 12 months, you might be paying about 14 or 15%. I actually used bridging funding with some of my initial properties 7 years ago up in Crewe and Stoke. It was a great way to get those properties funded. I bought them run down, they weren't mortgageable. I got bridging finance, I put in some cash, and we was able to get those properties up and running and cash flowing at around about £1,000 per calendar month. So just to recap, mortgages, bridging funding. You've also got development funding. There are companies out there which will give you 75, 80, sometimes 90% loan to cost for a development deal, commercial conversion, small land deal. Let's say the total amount of money needed is £1 million. Well, they will typically give you 750, 800, if not 900,000 cheap, maybe at 5, 6, 7% interest. And then you need to find what's called the equity piece, because they won't give you all the money. You need to make sure you've got skin in the game. You've also got crowdfunding platforms. You also have investors. Yes, investors. They will typically lend you money at a fixed rate return. So there's two real ways to work with investors. Number one, savings accelerator. Your mate down the pub, a family member, someone you meet at a networking event, they will lend you, say, £10,000 for 1 year at a 10% return. You can then use that money to invest into a deal, and at the end of the year, you've got to pay them back. So we actually did this for a property in Colchester on Burgholt Road, I believe. Yes, Burgholt Road. We raised money from investors to buy the property cash. We then followed buy, refurbish, refinance, and then we was able to get a mortgage, pay back the investor. Me and my business partner Jay now own the property, and that is how you get houses for free. Houses for free. Yes, it is possible. Houses for free, and I've done that many times. The other way to work with investors is more on a JV partnership. They put in the money, you do the work, and then you do a profit share. You've got to make sure they're a high net worth or sophisticated investor. I don't know about you, I'd much prefer 50% of something than 100% of nothing. Of course, you've got things like credit cards, but of course, be careful using credit cards. You can also go and find these investors online, social media, networking events, friends, family members. Literally, money is everywhere. It is everywhere right now. Money's not gone anywhere, it's just been redistributed, and more people are looking to put their money with great people just like you, where you can create a win-win. So they are some of the fastest ways, the best ways in which you personally can build a property portfolio using none of your own money. Does it take time? Of course. Does it take commitment? Of course. Do you need to understand how to structure the deals and what to say to the investors? Of course you do. And how did I do this? I went and got training. I went and got mentored. I understood a process. And today, here at Assets for Life, we are now the UK's leading property business and wealth training organisation. In property, I follow a simple 7-step process called the Property Freedom Formula. If you have a look in the chat box here, in the comments, there will be some free resources for you. So why don't you take a look? I just want to say, look, a massive thank you for tuning into this video. Make sure you watch more of my videos right now, because if I can do it, you can do it. What you see is what you get. And you are just one investor, one property deal, one decision away from a completely different life. So if you're new to this channel, smash subscribe with the notification bell, and I'll see you in my next video.